Is Gary here?
Where's Gary? Oh,
There he is.
okay.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Town of Eastchester Planning Board meeting of September 27, 2018. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I am Phil Nemisek. I am the acting chairman today in place of Jim Bonanno, who's not going to be here today. Let me do the roll call. Bob Pulaski.
Present.
Bill West.
Present.
Mark Cunningham.
Present.
And as I mentioned, Mr. Bonanno is not here. I don't think we, since approval of the minutes is something Mr. Bonanno normally puts at the end, I will deliberately defy that and put it at the beginning. However, I don't believe we're in a position to approve the minutes of the May 24th, and I have not had the ability to review the latest June 28th minutes, so I don't think we
Okay,
will.
so we'll just
Yeah,
adjourn
we'll
those
table
until
that,
the-
yes. And speaking of adjournments, there are several adjourned items that will not be heard at this meeting, including one, which is application 16-14, the Gas Mart at 600 White Plains Road, that was adjourned for additional information, I believe, just today. So if you are here for 600 White Plains Road, the Gas Mart, the 76 gas station, that is a public hearing that will continue to be adjourned, and it will not be heard tonight. The other adjourned items are application 18-20, which is the Siwanoy Country Club at 351 Pondfield Road / 1 Siwanoy Club Way. That's been adjourned for review by the Architectural Review Board, our very hardworking ARB. The third item which has been adjourned is 71 Park Drive. That has been adjourned for review by the Zoning Board of Appeals, equally hardworking. And the fourth item that has been adjourned and will not be heard today is 11 Mill Road, which has been adjourned for review by the ARB. So today's new business, I think every one of these items is new business. We have 4 items. I will just quickly go over the roster. The first item is going to be application 16-13, which is 22 and 24 Water Street and 42 Stewart Place subdivision. I know we've dealt with this particular property, but the subdivision is a new application.
It's a new
Yeah.
application simply because they're asking for an extension of a previous approval.
Okay, and the other 3 items of new business in the order in which we're taking them are 18-36, which is Holy Mount Cemetery, 18-37, which is 239 Main Street, and 18-03, which is Applestone Meat Company at 735 White Plains Road. So without any further ado, let's get to item number 1, which is application 16-13, 22 and 24 Water Street and 42 Stewart Place subdivision.
Good evening. It's Steve Anderson from Gabriel E. Senior PC, Land Surveyor and Engineers. Basically, we're asking for extension because of, we were working out with the town consultant and DPW on the utilities and Suez Water too for details, and also the performance bond, which we've gone through a number of times with the consultant, and I think we reached final today on that. So. And you should have a copy of that. And so I think that about covers it.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, there's no Yankee game on. They've played already at 1 o'clock, and the football game doesn't begin until 8:20.
Right.
We have probably a very large, substantial viewing audience at home, and we're just going to lose them unless we provide some background as to what this is about. Why don't you just, for the benefit of this board and for our viewing public, just give us a brief overview of the project and why we're here tonight and what you're asking for in the context of the overall project.
Okay.
Just a couple of minutes at
Yeah.
most. Yeah.
Right now, it's a 5-lot subdivision. It has currently, well, one house has been demolished since then, because we did start preliminary work.
Yeah, this board
Yeah.
has issued approvals
Yeah.
along the way, and I guess we're
Right.
at the next step right now.
Right, and, we're putting in 4 new houses and the ones remaining on Stewart Place. And essentially what's been going on is we have the town consultant, basically the utilities, we had it all reviewed with the DPW, had to get everybody in agreement and everything on the sewer, water, and also we've been bouncing around the performance bond and came to agreement as to how much that should be. But the project is, like I said, it was initially 3 existing houses, and 2 were coming down, and the one on Stewart remains, and then be 4 houses on Water Street.
Okay, so, and what you're here for today, what this particular application on which this board will vote this evening is to extend the conditional approval.
Yeah, because we're ready to go to
Yeah.
Health Department now that we worked out everything, so.
Yeah, and the conditional nature of the approval, there are
Yeah.
certain timelines built in
Right.
by which you have to do, and
Yeah.
you're just simply seeking an extension
Right.
of those timelines. And then, I believe this is a town requirement for approval of the amount of the performance bond to guarantee the construction.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate a couple of things. So back in June of 2017, you approved a new 5-lot subdivision
Yes.
off of Water Street, and as Steve indicated, so for 4 new homes and 1 existing home to remain. And those homes are, or at least 4 of those homes are proposed off of a new cul-de-sac. So when the subdivision is constructed, the cul-de-sac will be dedicated to the town of Eastchester, and the town of Eastchester will take it over. So the applicant is responsible for constructing that cul-de-sac and installing the utilities and the lighting, et cetera, but they're required to post a performance bond or a letter of credit to guarantee those improvements. So in case something happens and the contractor doesn't complete the work, the town is covered and complete those improvements. So the first thing they're here for is to ask for an extension of the conditional approval. And even though you approved it, it's considered conditional because there's a whole series of other things that have to occur before it's filed with Westchester County. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, as Steve indicated, the applicant prepared a cost estimate for the public improvements. That was reviewed by town staff and our consulting engineer, and the amount of that was set at $244,420. Our zoning law says that the planning board has to approve that, and the town board also has to approve it, but you're the first step. So those are basically the 2 issues.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Do any of my colleagues on the board, my esteemed colleagues, have any questions for Mr. Anderson?
No, I think I'd just like to point out that a number of the items that have to be satisfied have been satisfied.
Yeah.
And there are just a few open items, and the extension is needed to make sure that those items also come in line.
Yep. Again,
And I had actually recommended that you extended another 6 months, which is, I think, much more than the applicant needs and more than the applicant even wants. I know he's anxious to get going. I just didn't want him to have to come back again.
Yeah.
So in case there was something with the health department or Suez Water. So
Yeah,
I-
Health Departments
So I
and
just thought-
Suez, too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
so that's why we have March 22nd,
Yes.
2019 date is the date that is
Yes.
now requested with the extension. Okay,
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so this is not, there is no public hearing required on this, so I am going to go forward and make a motion first to extend the conditional approval for the proposed 5-lot subdivision located at 22 and 24 Water Street, which is application 16-13, until March 22nd, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And secondly, I am going to I move to, or make a motion to approve a performance bond or letter of credit in the amount of $244,420 to guarantee the construction of public improvements required for the proposed 5-lot subdivision located at 22 and 24 Water Street, which is application 16-13.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I also ask that you do one thing a little retroactively?
Retroactive,
Yes,
sure.
because
I'm all about
technically,
retroactive.
even though a public hearing is not required, you're supposed to resolve that one is not required. So if you could just make a resolution indicating that you do not believe a public
Okay.
hearing is required.
All right.
All right.
I move to resolve that a public hearing is not required with respect to the application which is before us this evening, namely the conditional approval, the extension of the conditional approval for the subdivision and the motion to approve the performance bond or letter of credit.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, and good luck. Next up, application 18-36, Holy Mount Cemetery, which is located on, very appropriately, Cemetery Lane. This is a preliminary review of the application.
Good evening. Tim Allen of Bibbo Associates. With me tonight is Joe Sarchek, the project engineer. We're the engineers of record for the project. You probably know the cemetery property is where it is and its location. We're proposing a simple improvement on this property so that the Archdiocese can basically, all the grave sites have basically been used up on this property. So what's called a, and I always, my pronunciation is this, but a columbarium, which is basically slots for ashes. They're also going to have a prayer area that's laid out on this property. So it's going to be a very attractive piece. It's something the Archdiocese has done in several other locations, Carmel, I think somewhere more, and essentially, it's just a place where people can come and visit their loved ones that basically their ashes are putting in a vault, and that's the extent of it. It's basically 2 column walls. There's an existing structure on the property that's just going to be rehabbed, and I'll let our architect go through it, but we're here tonight for you. We're going to need a variance, 2 variances from the zoning board, of which we need referral from your board to their board, which is a setback, excuse me, Joe. Setback here. And also, it's an existing non-conforming use, and we're by definition that, I think back in 2004, there was by the zoning board that since it's being expanded, that the zoning board would need to look at the expansion of the existing non-conforming use on the property. After that, I'll just turn it over to Joe. He's got some models and some better pictures than what's there.
I'm Joe Lazarchik from JPL Architects, and basically,
Excuse me, you
take the
can
microphone?
take that
Thank you.
out.
basically, this is the existing building location. We're using the same footprint, and basically, it's the same size and height that's there now. It's, the existing building is 16 feet high. This will be 18 feet. So it's relatively simple and straightforward in terms of that. Basically, what you see here is how this works is that the exterior of this wall would be a stone veneered wall, and it's 5 feet high to 5.5 feet high max throughout this area until we get to this. At the end of this, there will be a statue. The height of this at the highest point would be about 12 to 13 feet. And again, that wall is only about 3 feet deep. It's only to house a statue. It's not a roof structure that you could go in. And basically, all the niches in which the ashes would be put in are kept on the inside of the stone wall. So you would not see anything from the outside except for a stone wall that's 5 feet high to 5.5 feet high. The existing building, I mean, the new building is going to be out of the same material with stone, slate roof. This will operate only from dawn to dusk. It will not be used at night. There'll be very minimal lighting on it, only from the inside. And there's only one way to, well, basically one way to enter and exit. This is an emergency exit, so we don't have a dead end. It will just be used from the inside.
Was dead end a deliberate joke there?
Say it again?
Was dead end, the use of dead end?
So anyway, so this way sorry about that, but this way we could have another access out. Basically, the variance we're asking for basically cuts through here. So this portion of it is the area that we need the variance in terms of the side setback. And again, the wall is only 5.5 feet high.
Will there be gates?
Yes, there'll be a gate here and a gate here, and this will be a locked door, so nobody can enter it without.
And during the day, in order to gain entry, somebody has to release that gate?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically, all the materials are natural. This will be, again, stone veneer, marble in the inside, or granite. What we're looking at right now for the surface that you walk on will be a permeable paver. So that's...
How does the footprint of what you're showing us compare to what you had previously had approval for, but did not proceed with?
Yeah, it's night and day. What was previously approved was crypts, it was structures. It's not. This is more of a garden.
I get that, but I'm just trying to...
This is much, again, this is much smaller than what was previously approved.
I'm just trying to get an assessment that there was concern at that time of heights and what you could see from down below, and since the public might have that in their mind, I was just looking for a comparative
The only way I
statement.
can answer that is this is it's not invasive. There's a stockade fence here that's basically almost 8 feet high from grade up. This is actually lower than that existing stockade fence, to give you an idea.
Do you have a sense of, I'm certainly interested in knowing why the structure that was approved by the zoning board back in 2004 was not, nothing proceeded?
I'm not sure of that. I wasn't involved in that originally, but all I could say is that this is looked at as a way of generating funds to upkeep the existing cemetery, and it's a way of generating, like again, for flowers, for upgrades in the existing cemetery. It's a source of revenue. Again, this is let me do.
And who runs the cemetery? Is it the I know the applicant is the parish of Immaculate Conception and Assumption of Our Lady, but we've heard reference to the Archdiocese of New York as well.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure the exact answer to that, but I believe it's by the New York cemetery.
By the New York Archdiocese?
Right. Yeah.
Cemetery Association? Sir, why don't you, yeah.
Which, my understanding, is overseen by the Archdiocese ultimately. So it's association, but nonetheless, it's part of the church.
Okay, so is it the church that is responsible for the upkeep? That actually has the direct contact with the individuals who are maintaining the property?
Father Sorgi and the,
Could you identify yourself?
good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Bill Kelly. I'm a
Demolish that building.
project manager with the parish for this particular project. Father Sorgi, the pastor, and Immaculate Conception Church is in charge of and to maintain the cemetery, Belmont Cemetery.
Okay, yeah, that was my understanding, that the church has direct contact. I'm a parishioner at Immaculate Conception and have been for practically forever, so.
Okay.
But certainly, I know that there's interplay between the Archdiocese and the individual parishes.
Yes.
But it's my understanding, certainly we prefer to be able to go to an individual with a name who's preferably in the neighborhood, if there's an issue that the town needs to deal with. So, So I have some questions about, what's in the area right now? There's the existing building, and I think we have photographs here. Is there, I assume there are no, that this is unused area right now?
Yes. Right now, as you approach, there's the existing building that's there now, okay? This is the existing building. The area which we're gonna build on is basically where that pickup truck is.
Yep.
And that fence right there. That's the flat area that you're looking at right there. This is, if you were to look at the model, it's turned this way as you approach. So that's the existing building, and then we would build to the right.
So that's coming right along the property line then? I'm just trying to figure out your,
Yeah, if you were to look at,
when you lay it out.
when you look at
From this
the,
overhead,
Yeah,
from this overhead, you have a building right here.
correct,
And Cemetery Lane is to the left of that building,
Yes.
if we're looking,
yes.
right? So
So if you were to
that
look at,
structure, I see where that is, but, so you're going along that property?
correct, if you were to look at, this is the property line, right where my
Correct.
finger's running,
So-
and then turning this way.
So does that berm exist as it is? Is that how this is right now?
Yes, as-
Behind those
right, this-
residents?
Right here is what you have right now.
To the houses that,
But I'm saying it's, that's a berm that you're going to build, or?
No, that's the existing grade that goes off to the side property line.
So it's gonna stay existing grade at the top of that elevation, and then the 5
Correct.
foot?
We're not, basically, we're not changing the grade, it's being, the
And the
wall's being
5 foot
built.
wall will be above that.
Right, correct.
Is there anything else screening that, along that?
Yeah, this is all heavily wooded areas now.
Excuse
It's
me?
a heavily wooded area now.
Okay.
In the,
I don't know that that's a berm.
Excuse me?
I don't know that that's a berm. It's-
No, that's not a
Oh,
berm, that's a
well,
down,
It's
Yeah.
sloping simulated as, you know, the elevation changes in that
Right,
rendering.
this is sloping
out there.
off.
it should be turned
Yeah.
like that.
But it appears here that there's
You're
something
building-
here.
No, that's grave sites right now.
Okay.
We're building right here.
Okay, so, and where, is it hooking around this side? But it looks
No,
like
no,
there's
that's,
space.
no, that's the property
So
line.
Is it, this is the building here?
So if we were to turn it this way,
Turn it, yeah.
you see this property line right here? That's this property line right here.
Yes, okay,
And then as you turn down this way, that's this property line right here.
okay.
So you're building.
I can see where we'd be building here.
Right, correct.
But I don't see, it looks like the gravestones go all the way up to this property line.
Yes, that's right here. They're all marked.
Okay, so this is going, oh, I see, it's going this way.
Right, and that,
Got it, got it,
correct,
got
yeah.
it.
So
Okay.
if you look at, these are all the gravestones, right.
I got it, okay.
Okay. And like I said, this is only, this, is not that wide. It's only like 10, 11 feet wide, so,
Yeah,
It's not-
okay. Oh, so, the
Yeah.
dimensions are, it's pretty tight, but sufficient for its purpose.
correct.
Okay.
And how tall are the walls again?
The walls,
5 to 5.5?
depending on the
Yeah.
actual niche manufacturer we go with, they'll be between 5 and 5.5
Okay,
feet.
thank you.
Whose statue are you gonna put there?
Right now, Father Sorgi's in Europe right now. We're not, that hasn't been decided
Not
yet.
gonna permit you to put Father Sorgi's statue. That's not gonna work.
And you said those are a prefabricated wall, or that's?
No,
going
the
to
wall
be-
is actually it's a stone wall. It's like a garden wall that you normally build, and then the niches get butted up to that, and then there's a cap that goes on top, which will be a stone cap also.
Okay. Another concern that I have, well, I don't know if it's even a concern, but I'd like to know a little bit about what the typical traffic is at this site on a typical day. Maybe Mother's Day is a busier day, and Father's Day, and who knows, Christmas. I assume there are days when cemeteries are more heavily visited. But tell me on a typical day what the amount of vehicular traffic is. Do you have a sense of that?
Not a sense on a typical day. I mean, I was there for a period of time of 5-6 hours, and nobody came when we were measuring. So it's hard to say on a typical day, but I mean, we could average it out even, with a holiday and give you some type of number at some point. But On a typical day, like I said, I was almost there all day, and there was only one visitor. And then
Yep.
another day, there was no one.
Where is the parking for the facility? You know, is it just you park on the road
Yeah.
on Cemetery Lane? Do you park in the circle at the end?
Yeah, essentially, Joe's going to pull up the original site plan. People park along Cemetery Lane, basically, is what they do. They just pull off to the side, and back when they were actually having funerals there, as I said it before, all the grave sites are now full, but nonetheless, they would just pull in, make the loop back out, and leave. And that's exactly what is intended to stay that way. So there's no formal parking, but there's certainly parking along the road where people can stop, pull off to the side. And it's not untypical for other cemeteries that we've worked on in the past where that's the case. And as long as they can move over and get back out, it's always worked out fairly well. In terms of traffic, I mean, certainly you'll have Mother's Day and Christmas and what have you, but it's not a large traffic impact in terms of,
Okay.
it's sporadic is what it is.
And how many urns of ashes can they hold in this new spot?
It's noted on your sheet as 1,800, but the real number is 1,630. 1,630 is the maximum number.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about a typical, I don't know what you'd call it. It's not really a burial. I don't know if it's a funeral, because funerals sometimes,
It's
I think
not
in
really-
the Catholic faith, the funerals take place at the mass.
Right.
The funeral mass. So this would be an interment, but that requires earth. So whatever the ceremony is
Yeah.
by which somebody is laid to rest, what does that typically consist
Yeah,
of with this
I'll let Bill
columbarium?
speak. Yeah.
Speak to that. I just went to one, unfortunately, a dear friend of mine's father passed away the other day. You'll have generally you'd have the wake, and then you'll have the mass at the church, and then, you know, more or less it's very close friends and family that'll come to the interment part of it. It's not a big crowd. It's not there were lines up the street for the particular funeral I went to the other day. You don't see that as they leave the church and then head to the grave site. So, you know, the process weeds out, unless it's someone really famous that wants to be there. But nonetheless, generally it's not a big crowd that would come to the
Yep.
interment.
Yeah, I've been to enough interments that, in my experience, it's typically something that it takes longer for people to get there and get settled than the actual ceremony.
It's
and then
not a
people-
long ceremony either.
Yeah,
There's a few prayers said, and everybody usually goes to the local restaurant afterwards.
But that is typically, though, when you have the
Yeah, and you
the
probably
biggest
even
amount of traffic.
get that
Yeah.
less with the interment of the ashes. I mean, normally you'd have that with a burial.
Yes.
With basically it's just there. You're gonna have in terms of visitors, there's gonna be a nice little atrium area where you can sit and pray if you wanted to and things like that. So, you know, it's more on an individual basis than it is a large scale production in terms of interment. Hope that, I think I described it.
Yeah, no, that's consistent with my experience. And I think we're talking about probably, is the cemetery itself fairly close to capacity in terms of,
The cemetery itself is it's full.
it's full?
It's full.
Okay, so no more burials?
No more burials. Yeah,
Okay.
this,
So-
again,
so
this is,
What we're doing, should this be approved, is creating 1,600 and something potential ceremonies. that,
Correct.
And then, of course, because you have the remains of your loved one laid to rest there, you would have potentially 1,600 times however many people feel close enough or need to visit and reminisce about that person.
yes, correct.
That's really what we're talking about
Right.
here. Okay. Tell me again, I don't think this was established. What's the width of Cemetery Lane? The typical width? I understand it may not be precise.
I believe it's 25, 26 feet wide. We'll check that for you, we'll just certainly detail that.
It's two-way traffic, that much is, you know, I can confirm, but I don't know the exact dimension of it.
Anyone parking is going to be parking on the side of that road.
Correct.
And it looks like the gravestones come pretty close up to the road, so no one's going to be parking on the grass portion.
Correct.
Okay. I think
I was just.
there's no public hearing here, so.
No, because it's just preliminary, and the only thing that I was going to mention is if and when it comes back to the planning board, I've been out to the cemetery a number of times, but not recently related to this application, and I just wanted the board to kind of look at, I'm not sure whether there's any conditions with regard to existing fencing and stuff, you know, things like that that might need to be improved, or landscaping or screening. So if you do come back again, I want to look at those issues a little bit more, and you guys may want to look at those a little bit more too.
Yeah, that's all fair game. You know, we can extract our whatever improvements, reasonable improvements we think.
I'd just like to note that a majority of the fences are not on the property.
Oh, they aren't? Okay.
Yeah, and so that's something to know. I'm not sure,
There's
which is why I
neighbors
just
fencing.
raised it up. Okay.
Is there any rendering or elevation of that, like from the yards, or from, you said it's a wooded area?
This is an earlier one that we did, but basically, this is the existing building. Again, you would have the low walls going,
Right.
and then turning back towards.
I'm kind of more interested in what it really looks like in reality. You know, those trees and all are not, you know, the property doesn't look like that. Looking from the neighbor's vantage point back into the cemetery is what I'd be more concerned about.
Just to give perspective of this shot, okay, is taken from the property along this fence line.
Right, okay.
And this was an 8-foot sign.
So that's basically at the corner of this elevation here?
Right, yeah. This is, again, this fence is on the neighbor's property.
That's part of the cemetery fence, or that's the neighbor's?
This is part of the cemetery. This is the
It's
neighbor's.
fenced.
That's the neighbor's fence?
Right.
So- Okay,
So if you were to look at this, you can see this is the cemetery. This is
correct,
the-
okay, gotcha. So there's a stockade fence there, okay.
And that runs,
So basically,
This- yeah, this is, I'm standing on like a 4-foot wall to look over the fence.
and you can see, it, okay. So that's a six-foot stockade fence. Basically, your wall is lower than
That fence
that.
runs from here all the way
Correct.
down.
Okay. Well,
Wasn't the neighbor supposed to put the,
I'd be more concerned about the other elevation. That's the
Yeah.
east, right? That's east where you just
This
pointed
side
to?
here?
That's the south end of it, right? Property's pretty much facing north. Did you drive up the driveway?
That's the wooded area that we described.
This is a shot that you can see that's along, it was taken from here along these headstones, and you can see the
Okay.
vegetation.
Gotcha.
along this property.
And that's the foliage, that's
right.
the south, okay.
And this, basically, this shot right here, okay, is taken from right here back towards the neighbor's property is right here. Again, you can see how dense it is. And this is not in our area of construction. This is outside of the area of what we're dealing with.
And
you're
again,
not
you're gonna
touching
be,
that vegetation?
and you're gonna be looking at these walls that basically, you know, obviously the interior is where the interment would be, and you're looking at a wonderful exterior of the outside wall, so it's gonna be quite attractive in terms of, it's not gonna be, you know, an ugly fence or something like that. It's gonna be quite an attractive, exterior wall that'll be facing the neighbors.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? But
Say again.
that's a rhetorical statement. I think you've answered all of my questions. Does anyone else have any? All right, well, again, this is a preliminary review, so there is no public hearing on this now, but certainly Any member of our substantial viewing audience watching at home who has an interest in this, I'd invite you to follow this along because I think we're going to be referring this to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And then if the Zoning Board of Appeals approves the request for variances, it'll come back here. And that will also afford our public an opportunity to be heard. So, so that said, I make a motion to refer application 18-36 to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the
Second.
consideration of a use and area variance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good luck. Next up is application 18-37, which is 239 Main Street. And this is also a preliminary review. It will not have a public hearing. Thank you, you too.
Alrighty. Good evening, board members. My name is Adamo Majorano from Community Designs and Engineering. On behalf of the applicant, Christopher Dura, we are proposing an addition and alterations to 239 Main Street. Basically, the existing residence as it is today is currently occupied by 3 generations of the same immediate family. It's been that way for a few years, many years now. But as a result of time changing and the current status of the family living there today, we are proposing these alterations and an addition in the rear to better suit their needs and desires of today. Overall, the existing conditions aren't going to really change all that much, basically with the house and the site. Ultimately, what we are proposing is to, aesthetically renovate the house and as well as do some site improvements to better accommodate the zoning issues that we have at hand. In basically summarize what's going on, in the rear there's an existing sunroom, roof deck, and deck above it. What we're proposing is to remove that, and in place of that there's a single-story rear addition and very small second-story addition to the rear with the roof deck above that. The site will remain, as we said, pretty much similar to what's going on there today. There's going to be parking in the rear with screening around it. Overall, the basic layout of the house, what initially we're trying to result in is that right now there's one family on each floor, and that's first, second, and third level. Proposed there will be 2 units on the first floor, and then 1 unit occupying the second and third story. And yeah, any questions? And be happy to explain or answer.
Is there any change in the footprint?
So,
Yeah. It's at the back, right?
yeah, in the rear. The main change in the variance of this is there's a existing, sunroom that I said and deck above it. That's the 1-story addition in the rear, and then that very small 2-story addition. So it's all going on in the rear of the house. Nothing really changing in the front as far as, aesthetically updating it and what have you.
And Adamo, you're here today before this board so that we refer you to the Zoning Board of Appeals so that you can apply for variances there. Now, tell me again what the variances that you're looking for are.
So the number of variances is a side yard variance here, parking,
The side yard variance is it's
So it's
existing non-conforming?
existing
Yeah.
non-conforming, and we're extending back on, increasing that non-conformity, so we would need a variance for that side yard. There is also the aisle, the existing driveway, we're not, changing that, but right now it's non-conforming, and essentially
Remain
it's, will
non-conforming.
remain non-conforming. The number of parking spaces, right now, there's not really a number of parking spaces, just basically parking in the rear. There's a shed that we're removing in the right corner to better accommodate more parking spaces. The backup aisle, which, it's a 42-foot site, so there's not much room to, kind of alter what's going on. So the backup aisle for the parking is also not of, the, what have you,
And then you have a
Zoning
left side
dimension.
yard setback as well.
and then the left side yard setback as well.
But from the sound of it, pretty much all of these conditions are non-conforming as they exist.
Exactly.
And since you're, at least in terms of putting the addition in the back, exacerbating the non-conformity, you need approval of the zoning board
Sure.
for that. Okay. Well, it certainly looks to me that the improvements that you're making are certainly very, they'll do a lot for the appearance of the house, and certainly there's a very good reason behind it all. We like to keep families together if that's what they desire. So I'm happy with the plan that you have. Do any of my fellow board members have any questions for Mr. Majorano?
I have no questions.
No, sir.
All right. Well, I will then make a motion to refer application 18-37, which is 239 Main Street, to the Zoning Board of Appeals for consideration of the area variances that we've just discussed.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job on the Hickory Hill house, by the way. I've passed a few times. The one on the corner of Hickory Hill and...
Okay, yes,
It looks
yeah,
very nice.
came,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it did,
Yeah.
it did a nice job with that, it did. Thank you.
Also your neighborhood. It's also your neighborhood.
Sort of. I've walked it sometimes.
Mhm.
In that area. It's nice. Next up, our final application of the day, application 18-03, which is Applestone Meat Company, 735 White Plains Road.
She might ruin your flow, dude. She needs a minute to set up. You're on record with this. You know? We may have to rethink Bonanno.
Triggers the way time works.
They denied earlier this year and they're coming back and there was denial?
The Donna, yeah, so that meant they needed an area variance, so we did go to the zoning board. Can you speak? I represent Applestone.
You don't need a mic.
Oh, the stenographer does.
Come on, Gail.
My name's Gail Asher, and I represent Applestone Meat Company. I'm working with John Coutinho on this project, who is the architect of record. Just a little history on the project. John presented for ZBA approval last November 2017, because it was formerly the space that the meat company is looking to renovate was formerly a dentist office, and it required a parking variance. So that was granted in November. There are 5 spaces used in the back in the Trader Joe parking lot. Just a little brief history, because the client has not been, Applestone has not been in front of the planning board before. Can I read a brief narrative from the
Absolutely.
the owner? It was directed to the planning board and also to the architectural review board. To whom it may concern, the following is a narrative describing the details of our proposed project on White Plains Post Road, Scarsdale. As shown on the site plan application, we hope to open a retail shop in which we sell high-quality, fresh cuts of meat via a customer service window and refrigerated vending machines. The following are responses to details requested. The indoor customer service window will be open every day, 11 to 6 p.m. The vending machines will be indoors and accessible 24/7. These vending machines will be inspected by the appropriate health department before operations open. We would use our company vans to drop off product, which will be loaded into the basement, where we will have cold storage coolers. And the drop-offs will be mostly late night or early a.m. The number of employees is estimated to be 3 to 5, but typically there will be 2 per day, 2 shifts, between 11 and 6. The space in front of the vending machines is primarily just an access way through which people can approach either the machines or the customer service window. The wall opposite the vending machines will be used for visual and information display. The site will be under 24-hour surveillance with signs posted to notify the public of such. The Applestone Meat Company has been in operation for 4 years as a meat processing facility and retail shop. We have a customer service window and 4 vending machines at our location in Stone Ridge, New York, and we'll be happy to provide visuals of the existing space to give better understanding of the look and feel we intend to create. And that's essentially.
Where is the present facility?
Stone Ridge?
Stone Ridge, New York, it's up in the Catskills.
Okay.
Is that where the meat comes from?
Yeah, it comes from a farm. It's a
In the Catskills?
sustainably sourced farm up in the area nearby.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you talk about a window. Where is that in the building?
In the plan,
Right.
it's indoors. It's in the,
Okay, so it's not an outdoor window, it's, you come into the facility to access the window, okay.
there is access directly on Route 22 as well as on the main entry, obviously, from the back.
Yeah, the main access is in the
Renovate,
back.
and I'll talk a little bit about that.
Now, I understand from the application that you propose to run this establishment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yes.
And Margaret I didn't see any objection on the summary, so I assume that fits with our zoning code?
On our summary, what I indicated is you have the authority to restrict the hours of operation. So our zoning law does not in itself restrict the hours of operation, but as I did indicate in my meeting notes, that you have the authority
Okay,
to
I
restrict
misunderstood
it.
that.
Yes, yes.
Tell me a little bit about you said there's going to be a service window open from 11 to 6, that there would be deliveries that would be generally at night or early morning hours. But that the facility itself would be open, and it's basically vending machines, is that?
They're mostly frozen meat vending machines. Yeah.
And that would, and you would propose to have I think you just answered my colleague's question, that would be open 24/7.
Yes, yes, and they, have very, very good security. It's very safe, lots of lighting, security cameras 24/7. Somebody's operating 24/7. This is their prototype, and this is how they operate their other business up in Stone Ridge. And there is a piece about that, if that becomes a real issue, that they did write a little letter about why that's important to their business model.
Why is that? I don't, probably didn't give that my full attention, but.
No, that, they didn't write it. They just said, you know, if we were asked that question, they're prepared because they've been asked this before and that's their business model. So if that is an issue, I can read it.
I actually am interested in hearing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
To make concern, again. The Applestone Meat Company business model is focused around accessibility, which we address by opening our doors to the public 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We utilize vending machines because they allow for the safe refrigerated sale of food products without the necessity of hiring counter staff for multiple shifts or overnight shifts. Our premises are under 24-hour surveillance. Because we can increase our exposure to our customer base without increasing our staffing demands, we're able to keep our product prices lower than our competitors in the boutique butcher market. We aim to bridge the gap between boutique markets and big box grocery stores, providing well-sourced product at attainable prices. We meticulously source our product to our standards, which have been developed over the course of 15 years in the sustainable meat industry, ensuring that our stores are shopping safe zones. Every product you'll find in our stores is a product we happily feed our own families, and we want to widen the audience of people who are able to buy, cook, and eat that sample product. Our own hometown of Stone Ridge is comprised of a small main street that closes down completely, including the gas station, by midnight. The grocery store closes by 9 p.m. Our flagship store, however, has been open here since May of last year, and in the time we have seen the positive influence on our community. Direct feedback from our customers assures us a 24/7 model provides more than just a novel thrill. We hear from a diabetic who works late hours and swings by on her way home for lean steaks to slice over salad, a simple meal that helps regulate her blood sugar. We hear from firefighters on overnight shifts who pick up fresh protein on their way home at 4 a.m. so they can eat a healthy meal versus junk food. We don't expect hordes of customers in the middle of the night, but we do expect to positively influence a small amount of customers in just the right way. We believe that our model has the potential to work anywhere, and that Scarsdale, with its large commuter population, could benefit from our presence. We're looking forward to being your neighbors. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to reach us via phone. Sincerely, Joshua Applestone.
Is your existing facility in an area where there's, you know, like a large parking lot, like this one has? My concern with this is that I think the idea of the business is very good. I just know from being in Trader Joe's that this parking lot is, it's sometimes, you know, very, very, very busy. So, and what happens is that people, the way this parking lot is designed, as you see, you pull in and drive around. I don't know, I guess you folks have done studies on it, but my experience is that everyone pulls into this parking lot and stops and waits for a parking spot. So I'm just wondering if this is being designed so that it plays off of Trader Joe's, or it's just a very congested and very poorly laid out parking lot. And I wonder how that plays into your business, because you'll be adding more traffic into it, you know, or do you play off of Trader Joe's?
I don't think it really is particularly playing off Trader
I'm sorry?
Joe's. I don't think it's particularly playing off Trader Joe's
Okay, no, I just
clientele
so
at
in
all.
other words, my point is, if there's 50 people shopping in Trader Joe's, they wouldn't typically be your customers, so you'd be adding 25 to them. So that would be
Yeah,
my concern.
yeah, because-
Has your company done a study on this lot?
I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you.
Excuse me?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't
Okay.
know if they've done a
Just,
real, focus group study or anything like
Mark
that.
says parking competition is very high in that lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean.
Yeah, no, I
it's
know, I've
something that
shopped there.
If they haven't looked
Yeah.
into, they should,
Yeah, yeah.
because I think it's kind of a unique idea. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I think that, my personal opinion, is it's a bad spot.
But most of the traffic is going to be Thursday through Sunday and late afternoons
I just,
or
you know,
evening. That's what they say is their, typical.
Because there's really no access from the main road in front, unfortunately, so it's all through that
Right.
back and,
And on a busy Trader Joe's, traffic backs up to
yeah, the truck
22.
can come in, like you said, that the deliveries will be
Yeah.
coming in, hopefully at night, because
Yeah, very-
there's no way that they could
When
get
no
into
one's
the
there.
space, at
Yeah.
4 o'clock in the afternoon, this place is mobbed.
No deliveries then,
Yeah.
late night or early morning, and they're by vans, not trucks.
Right.
What type of meats are sold? Is it,
Red meats and pork and lamb, I believe. I mean, you can go on their website and take a look, but I don't think it's not poultry. I think it's the type of meat.
And they're taking over the nail salon? Is that what they're taking over?
I'm sorry?
The nail salon is the one they're taking over?
No, the dental office.
The dentist in the middle?
Yes.
GNC on one side and the nail salon on the other.
Here's the dental office.
3 supermarkets and 2 butchers, existing butchers in this town.
And this is the street view.
Does anybody know how the lighting works in that Trader Joe's parking lot right now? Is it always on? Does it ever go off?
Yeah.
The what?
In Trader Joe's?
lighting.
Trader Joe's.
I do not know.
I live right near there. I don't think I've ever seen it off.
What?
Yeah.
The lighting in the parking lot. Because Trader Joe's closes at 9,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, see, 'cause
sometimes they have a
your
trailer that
parking-
comes in.
Parking that they're proposing behind the store is you have to go through Trader Joe's parking lot, then you make a right-hand turn
Yeah,
into
right.
this, and then you have to back out of there quite honestly, I don't see how it works.
When the applicant appeared before the zoning board for a variance for the parking, now at that time, there was no understanding or knowledge that it was the Applestone Meat Company. It
Right.
was just he wanted to get a variance to allow him to have a retail use
Correct, yeah.
if possible. His lot has 5 spaces, but my understanding is, and there's evidence in the file, that there's been a long-term agreement with Trader Joe's that they share
Right,
parking.
exactly,
so-
I get it, no, I mean,
But
it's
for
not.
the few people that do park there, it's an
Exactly,
issue,
it's just,
yeah.
like I say, you drive through the space, it's
Yeah.
very congested.
From 3 to 7
And
is
that's
pretty
being-
packed
And that's
there.
being kind.
It's pretty packed.
Well, you also need to go in flex hours. If flex hours when it's not congested.
well, the reality though is this is a store that, is, or has been used as a dental office. There are individuals, I don't know what the uptick in vehicular traffic would be, with a meat vending store. But certainly the owner has a right to conduct a business, and it doesn't sound to me that the business is necessarily going to generate Trader Joe's-like vehicular traffic, but certainly it may exacerbate a problem that already exists.
I don't know, yeah.
And, I just
I think they
wanted,
may get some people to go over there, something like that.
What do you mean? Trader Joe's people?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that
That's
the
about
foot
it.
traffic.
No,
would
I
probably-
think that part of it is good.
I mean, there are
I
3
don't know.
supermarkets and 2 butchers already in town, so there'll be a third
That
butcher.
area has existed for a while with with that tight space and
Yes.
those stores, and quite frankly, I shop at Trader Joe's, and sometimes I come out of Trader Joe's and I go over to GNC.
Get your nails done?
Or if I go, no, I don't go in for that.
Get your nails done.
Maybe if I have my daughter with me, I drop her off, but,
It's okay, Bob, it's okay. No judgment.
where I'm going with that is that that might be an additional attraction where somebody goes into Trader Joe's and they also decide to stop in with meat. This is by the way, this is a public hearing.
Yeah, and also I wanted to, if I could remind you, you're actually not approving the use or the traffic or the
No, we
parking.
know, it's just-
So, but I wanted to make sure you actually do look at the elevations and the materials and things. The Architectural Review Board had asked that the applicant provide additional information with regard to the light fixtures.
Nice.
And signage, also to indicate how they were proposing to deal with the front building facade and that kind of thing, so.
I think it's nice.
The front building facade, does the same owner owns the entire building, right? All three storefronts?
The owner, this is just gonna be a rental though, it's gonna be a lease.
This is gonna be.
Yeah, so I mean, the rent, I haven't spoken to the owner at all, but I know the client, Applestone, does want to do whatever they can within a reasonable cost to upgrade the finishes, the materials. I mean, he plans to paint,
That's pretty boring.
the rear and the front.
Can you use the microphone, please? You can separate it, we have a stenographer, so
You can lift the microphone out of the.
release the microphone. And then one question I had about the building, the front facade, is that I was confused, is it almost looked like the applicant was proposing just to renovate or paint the storefront,
This
or is it the
particular
entire
storefront, yeah.
building?
Or the entire
buildings.
the entire facade, or just the middle?
For the front facade?
Oh, well, it's continuous stucco, so I assume he'd have to do the whole.
I would too, just the
Yeah.
way that it was
Building
labeled, it was
facade.
a little bit unclear, so I wanted
you
to
know,
make sure that that was.
I think he plans to. He's not gonna just paint this strip right here, he's gonna paint the
Well,
whole.
so I just want to, it's not that what he plans to do, it's what this board would require
Yes.
that he do.
Yeah.
So that's why it needs to be clear on the drawings what's being proposed, or
Yeah.
the board needs to be clear what's being proposed in case they need to issue, adopt a condition of approval.
Okay.
That's the rear, what about at the front as well, right?
Well, the rear, yes, they're gonna paint between the buildings, so for sure, they're gonna paint the whole thing. And so the front, I would assume they would paint the whole building as well, and
Okay.
that's conditional.
Sure, okay.
That
yeah.
would be something I think with this, I certainly would strongly advocate, and perhaps subject to the consideration by my peers on this board, I would make a condition of approval.
I mean, quite frankly, the owner should, the landlord should pay for it, but,
Yeah, that's between.
that's between him and, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we plan to, patch the holes. There's been discussion about, how to, so we're gonna patch the holes and paint. And we added 2 lights, 2 of the gooseneck lights in the front as well.
In the front, okay.
Yeah. And, otherwise the front's staying the same. We're removing the decals from the wall, the tape on the windows. And there'll be some signage on the door. Probably not on the window, but they're planning to put their logo on the door.
Is the intention on having the front door open 24/7 as well? Or just the back?
The front door will be open 24/7 as well.
Or again, that's what's proposed.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I said, it's
Yeah.
not the intention.
But they expect most of the traffic to be from the back. So these are automatic doors, automatic glass folding doors, like at CVS. There's a lift proposed, so I don't know if should I just briefly go through the
Yes,
design
please.
features? So hang on a second. So this is the existing, this is the proposed. We're proposing a lift with a glass door, which was one of the elements that was requested at the ARB. So this is going to be a lift. He wants to make it accessible, and clearly that's one of the ways. So a lift to provide access, handicap access. We're replacing all of the railing, which is this painted brown, very, really horrible. Remove the decking and the railing and replacing it with a Feeney cable rail. It was in the packet.
Yep, it's nice.
It's like that, but it's going to be painted black. So just open it up, give a more modern look. The mullions are going to be painted black. Everything's clear glass. Decking will be like a gray. It's a Fiberone, which is like a Trex material, and it's going to be like a graphite, dark gray. So this, instead of the brown, will be this dark gray, black, and then that's essentially it. We'll have, these are mounted, the letters are mounted on the wall. Aside from the decals in the windows, that's the only sign, front and back. 2 gooseneck lights here and 2 gooseneck lights on the front. I think those are
Tell me a
pretty
little bit
much-
about the security that's intended to be put in place. I think you said there would be 24-hour surveillance of some sort. Tell me how, that obviously involves cameras. Tell me where the cameras are going to be. Tell me, again, what's
I'm not
proposed.
sure of that, and we could get more detail on that. But I
Are
think
they
that's a valid
entirely
question.
Do you know whether they're entirely within the store itself?
I
or
think
whether
the
they-
security is within the store. I think the security is within the store, but I'm not sure. He may have a security camera outside on his Stone Ridge place. I can find that out.
And do you know who's monitoring that? Is it some outside service that does this for a price for a business?
I'm not sure if he does it or he has an outside service. I'm not sure about that.
One of my concerns is the idea of the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week. That shopping area borders residential. That Vernon shopping area, I think, basically closes up by 9 o'clock. Trader Joe's closes up by 9 o'clock. I think the only thing in town that has long hours are your quick stops at gas stations or things like 7-Elevens. They aren't 7-Elevens, but they're like 7-Eleven. And I see that in the packet of information that we got, there was one resident that expressed that concern. I know that we've as a board, we've heard concerns when there have been discussions of gas stations, which is it's not exactly like this. Gas stations maybe are more frequented, but it would be a very different usage than I think we see in this town. I'm concerned with just carte blanchely saying 24/7 is fine.
Yep. Well, I think certainly I want to hear from the public to the extent that there's anyone here to comment on that. But before we do that, I do want to make sure that we've touched on all of the recommendations made by the Architectural Review Board. You mentioned lighting, that the ARB suggested that there be a greater explanation, a fuller explanation of what the lighting plan would be. Did that result in your adding these
Yes,
gooseneck
it did.
lights?
It did. We installed floods, motion detector floods at each corner. We moved these up to have a bigger spread. And we put lights on the front as well. And then there will be, be interior lit, very, very well lit inside with non-invasive lighting.
And the property slopes down so that the front entrance is at grade, but the back entrance is.
Right, is a story lower.
Yeah. How high up is the
Grade
new
here?
surface? Yeah.
It's about 2 steps down, 2 or 3 steps down to the basement level.
Okay, but how high up is the?
Oh, the deck?
The deck, yeah.
Oh, it's about 5 feet, plus or minus. 4 to 5 feet.
Assume whatever improvements you put in would be equally usable by the other 2 stores in that, on that
Yeah.
property, yeah.
Well, really, it's just an improvement of the existing deck, no? I mean, there's
It's
no
nice.
elevation changes or...
No, but I'm talking,
Well, there's the lift.
The lift,
There's
that's what I'm
there's
talking about,
a new
yeah.
lift. There's all new decking.
But
all
I'm saying,
new-
they're not changing the elevation of the
No.
existing deck. You still have to go into the store, so it's...
No,
virtually
it's just the
the same.
decking. Yeah.
But it's quite an improvement in
Yeah.
how
Well, no,
that
no,
deck
no,
looks.
that's not-
That
that's not
deck
what
looks
he
like
asked How high it was, I'm saying.
backside of a house or
Same
something, you know.
There's no change in the elevation of the deck. It's just a new deck,
Correct, yeah.
right?
But the lift is new. I mean, that's certainly an enhancement that the other 2 stores might benefit from as well. So anything else that the ARB recommended that,
I can just go through the points. The light fixtures, gooseneck lamps are black, matte black. Clarifying, indicating the drawing, there's access to the vending machines from White Plains Road, yes, on both sides. Clarify what the light levels will look like at night. We do have a little photo, didn't come out very well. I don't know if anybody wants to see, but.
I think they were just concerned that it not be overly bright or, you know.
Yeah, they're very concerned about that. They have a lighting designer who has these non-invasive lights that, I have cut sheets on those lights, actually.
I actually have a question in terms of security on, obviously, it's an open question as to what the hours of operation are going to ultimately be decided to be, but if it's going to be very well lit inside, and it may go into late hours of the evening, are those glass doors going to be tinted so that the light doesn't spill out to like neighboring properties in terms of light pollution coming out?
Well, across the street is Lord and Taylor.
We were planning on using clear glass, but the lighting specifically is not, that's what I wanted to show you. I know I have the cut sheets here on the lighting.
And I'm not sure for security reasons, you might not want tinted glass. I think you would want
Yeah.
clear glass for
Does that
security,
cause, like,
but
a
you don't want
problem?
some.
Lord and
some-
Taylor's is across the street.
yeah,
A non-environmental impact, he's calling them, literally non-environmental. These are the interior lights. I don't know if anybody wants to see, but they're hanging pendants, and they can be mounted on the ceiling or not. They're just pretty much these little discs. So they're not giving off a ton of lighting. These are the outside ones, not blue, they're black.
okay,
And again, I think a lot of that has to do with the hours of operation, because
correct.
if you're open at 8 o'clock, so is everyone else, and everyone else has the lights on. I think it really depends on how.
How late they are at
Like
midnight
open
when
and-
everybody
Well, I
else is
think Robert's
closed.
concern was that somebody driving by all of a sudden sees a store all lit up, and that attracts.
People stargazing from the Lord and Taylor.
Or just, I don't know if there are neighboring properties, so landowners, and there's light spilling out at 2 o'clock in the morning.
No, I
or
agree with you, but
whatever.
again, if they're not open at 2 o'clock, then the
Right.
planning board could impose a condition that the light levels at night have to be kept fairly low. So it would be like any other operating business that has lights on during the night.
See if there's anything else. Repairing holes, show signage and lighting, material cut sheets. I think you all have them. If you have any
Yes.
questions, let me know. And glass door on that left.
All right. Any other issues that you need to address before going to the public hearing?
No, I don't think so. I think that was it.
All right, I make a motion to open the public hearing on application 18-03, Applestone Meat Company, 735 White Plains Road. And while it has a Scarsdale PO address, this is most decidedly within the town of Eastchester.
Yeah.
which is
I know.
here.
The letter
So,
was not
yes.
was written by the owner before he realized that. Yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty embarrassing.
Although, it was pointed out at the ARB, though, so it was not modified for the planning.
I'm still smarting over the signage at the bank, the big mural on the bank.
Yes, okay,
where
we'll talk about that another time.
We were hoodwinked by the village of Bronxville and the Historical Society into believing that one of the pictures on the mural was a Eastchester Town Hall dedication, when in fact it was Bronxville High School.
Oh, but before your time, there was the Eastchester Commons on Garth Road? Wasn't it, that they were calling it Eastchester, and then it became Scarsdale?
Oh, yeah, that's another one. That's another one.
But anyhow, the motion to open the
Second.
public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any members of the public here to
Yes.
speak on application 1803?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Hi, Ken Williams, 11 Howard. So I think the board touched upon it. Our only real concern is the hours of operation. We're in a town here, we're not in a big city. This isn't Central Avenue. We have private homes in the back there. As you talked about with Trader Joe's and the lighting, we don't know what's going on back there. You have elevation. So, just think through for a moment, who's coming at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to buy frozen steaks? It's probably not me or you guys. I think I probably would use this store. It's an interesting concept. But I think the hour of operation is an issue. I don't see how it is fitting within the town. It's not a gas station, 24/7, fast mart kind of thing. You're going to have a store open 24 hours a day. They have security they're talking about, but Is that going to help you with prosecution or prevention? I mean, if you have kids coming there from colleges at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning after being out in the bars driving, that's who I think is going to show up, unless they can tell us about their business model that housewives are coming there at 3 o'clock in the morning buying steaks. But I think it's just not befitting to the town. That's it. That's all I have to really say about it.
So you're suggesting this could become a meat market?
You know, are you Henny Youngman? Because you're getting better at this as you go along. No, I just think, you know, look, common sense says that, you know, you're probably going to have some issues there, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. At the back, maybe in a dark parking lot, I don't know who's going to show up there.
Yep.
The typical family member, people typically aren't coming home from work at 3 o'clock in the morning. They may up to 11 maybe, but, you know, that's really the only concern we have.
Yeah. Are you a resident of one of the nearby, you know?
We're here right on 11 Howard.
Oh, I thought you said Howard.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we had talked to a number of people that didn't hear about this at all, don't know much about it, but tonight maybe they'll hear a little bit more about it. I think you'll get a lot of people that will probably have the same feeling about this. No issue with the business model, it's just the hours of operation. That's it. I don't know if the lighting is, the lighting I don't think is the issue, or even the security. That's not going to prevent the types of people that probably will be showing up at 3 or 4 in the morning. Thank you. Any questions? Because that's it.
No, very good. Yeah, it is the, I have to think that, you know, notwithstanding the testimonials concerning the existing store that the applicant has, that part of the reason for having the 24-hour operation isn't so much that, you know, there's going to be a large influx of customers at 4:30 in the morning, but rather it sounds like it may be just easier to leave it open 24 hours rather than having somebody physically lock it down at 11 o'clock or midnight and then reopen it at 6 or 7 or 8 in the morning. That in and of itself may present a cost that the applicant is trying to avoid.
It's possible. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Well, but it operates on vending machines, and so there really isn't, a cost, to some extent. It's a convenience, and I think that there are a lot of areas where this is changing, and places are going into a 24-hour mode. But I don't see that happening in Eastchester as yet, and I'm concerned that it's going to start to change the atmosphere of the town, aside from maybe any direct residents that are immediate to the area that may have concerns. And I see that as a broader planning item, as opposed to just talking about this one establishment, because if we do it here, it could be happening near where Mr. Williams, right? Yes. Near where Mr. Williams lives, and other parts of the...
Well, it's not going to happen there, because I live on 27 Howard, so... And there really isn't any space, there's no...
So my druthers would be to try to initially recommend that it operate at the hours that Trader Joe's does. And if things change in this town, I think the applicant could come before us and ask for an adjustment in those hours.
But doesn't somebody, one venue has to be the one to start the change? I mean, you got to start the change somewhere. So where do you start it? I mean,
Well, that's if it's considered a positive change, I think. You don't just change for the sake
no,
of
but
change.
you know what I mean? I mean, there should be 24/7. There should be a CVS 24/7 and a gas station 24/7. And
do we have the authority, just thinking out loud here, could we conditionally approve hours and with the requirement that the applicant come back and
Yeah, I think that's what you would make a condition of approval if the applicant objected to that. I mean, in all honesty, a representative from Applestone should actually be here to answer some of these questions.
I also think it's possible that since security issues have been raised by various members of the board and also by the public, that the police department may want to weigh in on this in terms of recommendation possibly, or I don't know.
You know, I think, well, I would have the police department weigh in on it if the planning board were inclined to allow it to be 24 hours. If you're not inclined to allow it to be 24 hours, then I'm not sure that the police department is going to have a...
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky, one thing that this property has in its favor is it really isn't very close to any residential. I think, just looking at where it is on the map here, I mean, you have a school back here, you have, a Trader Joe's here,
Residential's right.
over here.
If you
Okay.
just
But that's even, okay, but it's not that close.
You know-
And it's not close enough that we have. a
Yeah, I
member
don't
of
think the
public
light
here.
will flood over
Yeah.
to all the way over here.
to kind of, actually, I'm going to withdraw what I just said. If you are considering longer hours of operation or later, then I would defer to the police department. If you were, again, I don't think it's necessary if you're going to limit the hours. If you're considering extended hours, I know when I spoke to the police department about it, or when we spoke to the police department about the extended hours for the gas stations, they were concerned. Of course, those are different kinds of uses, and there's beer and alcohol, et cetera, being sold. I can see how they could potentially have some security concerns here, even as it being an accessible space in the winter for somebody to hang out. I mean, I don't know. But if you'd like, I could certainly address that with the police department. And you could do a couple of things. You could adjourn the application to come back and maybe, with the applicant here to answer some questions a little bit more thoroughly.
And it's
Or you
unmanned
could,
overnight, right?
Yeah,
There's
it's
nobody in there, it's just vending machines.
After 6.
Yeah, can you tell me
Someone
what?
can get out of the cold, someone can get out of the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Walking up the
really
street.
understand
There was
that
a
concept either.
follow-up question, I guess, that I had earlier that, I probably didn't articulate very well. The 11 to 6 hours for the, I guess it's for the service window.
Service window.
What exactly, if this is all sold through vending machines, what's the purpose of the service window
I guess
during those hours?
bookkeeping and tracking, there's deliveries, so that's probably inventory and, there's still going to be a
Restocking
dumbwaiter.
machines.
We hope there's a dumbwaiter inside, so bringing meat up into the vending machines. Somebody's got to be there to do
Okay,
that.
it's like restocking, like Mr. West
Restocking,
said?
yeah,
Okay.
pulling the deliveries up and.
Okay, and I guess troubleshooting, because if you want to speak, some people.
Yeah, if there's a
might wanna
problem
speak
with
to a
the
real
machine
person.
or- yeah.
Okay.
Can I just make a suggestion? I think in addition to the police department, it seems to me, and I think that you may need to hear from the applicant themselves here for this information, is that it seems to me that part of what's been expressed is that the business model is that they want to offer something that people can't get because other stores are closed.
Yes.
So there may be a significant portion of what they're looking to do needs to be for them to actually make a go of it, to
Yes.
be open
Yep.
after, say, Trader Joe's is closed. However, overnight may be prohibitive in terms of the town's opinions. And I think striking a balance between, say, 9 o'clock and 24 hours a day, I think you're going to need to ask questions of the applicant specifically, and I think the police department should kind of give their input into it, in just in terms of, I think just common sense, and since security issues are coming up.
And one other, again, just thinking out loud, would this board have the option to, and I'll go at it from two different extremes. One, to approve the 24-hour operation conditional on having them come back at a certain point so that, we would have some time to assess how it actually works, and presumably at that point, if there are interested members of the community who feel very strongly that they need their meat at 3:30 in the morning, or I hate the fact that the cars are lining up and people are going in at 4:15. Is that a possibility that we could conditionally approve, and basically
period
hold
of
the
time.
issue, revisit the issue of the hours at a point when we have a better sense of how it's actually operating?
As a legal perspective, I would feel uncomfortable with
Okay,
that. And I
all
would
right.
say, my suggestion would be, if you have not made up your minds yet, I would be reluctant to have you set a number that you may want to
Okay,
change.
but here's the opposite end of that. We could also establish hours that do require closing, leaving open the possibility of,
And that-
getting the police department. And maybe for reasons that you just expressed, Rob, that may be something that is so core to the business model that it's a deal breaker for this applicant.
But I would say then, in all honesty, then I would wait and have the actual applicant here, because.
Option 3, yeah.
My legal
And
advice.
And especially if you're not, I wouldn't impose hours with the understanding that you might later change. I mean, I would impose, I would make a decision that you would hope would be the decision from now in perpetuity.
Based upon the appropriate amount of information that you have, I would suggest that I think the safer course of action here would be not to make any decision at all with what you have in front of you. I think if you're seeking input from the police department, and in all fairness to the applicant, giving them the opportunity to come in and talk about why they're making this request, I think that you could keep the public hearing open, because there may be members of the public, the members that are here tonight, may want to come in and address these issues as they arise, and that would be how I would suggest you do it.
Yep.
I mean, I
This town
think he'll
kinda shuts
reiterate what
down
he
at
wrote in
night.
his letter, because he wrote the letter. He's in Europe on business, so he couldn't be here, and we requested that he come, so it's not that he didn't
Yeah,
want to come.
understood. Understood.
But, I mean, he will reiterate this, and he probably will be strongly vociferous about
Sure,
24/7.
sure.
You can be sure of that.
No, that's fine, we understand it, this may be, he may be very passionate about this model, this business model, and as I said before, this may be very core to the model, maybe it has to be open at those hours. I mean, I would feel, comfortable if you were telling me, I don't want to close at 9 o'clock like Trader Joe's, I want to stay open till, say, 11 o'clock, maybe even 12 o'clock. I don't know that I'd have a serious issue with that, and opening at 7, maybe even as early as 6. But I do see there being,
That's an employee issue, that becomes a,
yeah, I think that I do see where, if you're not closing down at all, that does save on having to have somebody there twice a day.
Right.
And I don't think we've reached the point where you can do everything remotely. We may not be far from that point,
Right,
but
right.
that's fraught with potential problems as well.
And then, so I think Rob is absolutely right, that especially if you're thinking of extended or even longer hours, or at least want to consider them, then the police department definitely would weigh in, so
Yeah, so I think under those circumstances, I think option 3 is the best one here, which is just simply adjourning this with the, and I think we really do need to articulate. I think at this point, the one issue that I'm concerned about is the 24-hour operation. I think everything else looks like it's, it's a crowded parking lot, but it's a business, and it's not necessarily, it doesn't look to me like a business that's necessarily going to generate overflow parking. It seems like.
and again, the variance was granted, so
Exactly.
you don't
So,
really
that's
have
right.
any
That's
say
also
with regard to that.
correct.
You're
Yeah.
really,
That's correct, but I guess if we felt somehow that this would destroy the character of the town, we could.
that's true, that's true. That's true.
But I don't
take that
think we're
back.
at that
Yes.
point.
I wouldn't use that word destroy, I would say it's a change.
Change.
And it's probably a change that is coming along.
I was using an example
He
of
said
an
that you
extreme-
could technically deny
Yes,
it
that
on
was the
those
thing.
bases, yes,
Well,
and you're right.
Asserting
You
our
do-
power.
You do better with your, you do better with your stand-up.
Yes, my stand-up has been good tonight.
So you're going to adjourn this until the October meeting?
That's
Okay.
right.
What is the date for that?
27?
It's, hold on one moment.
The
27th, who'll be here, Margaret?
No, today's the 27th.
24th or 25th, right?
The planning board is October 25th. And again, I would recommend that the applicant submit something in writing to the board prior to the meeting, not just come to the meeting to answer questions, but understanding that the issue
In
with
addition
regard to
to
the 24
further-
hours,
further.
yes. Well, and I don't believe that was submitted to the board, that you read to the board, so.
John and I were talking to them, we had a conference call, and we said,
Yeah.
well, these are the questions they're probably gonna ask, so he said, okay.
Yeah.
We'd like to hear
Very
his
passionate about it.
business
Yeah.
justification for why he thinks this town will support a 24-hour business when we all live here and know that the town shuts down at like 9:30.
Right. It's all changing, it's gonna be changing very soon.
Yeah, I think,
And it's not
though
a
we're
pass-through town
I
that
think-
people are going,
Yep.
so.
I think we're comfortable I think we're comfortable with the other portions of the application.
Do you need to move to adjourn it?
I think we do need to, we're going to keep open the public hearing. We've not closed it, because, again, this is an issue that we are certainly looking to solicit as many viewpoints as possible.
And I think
It
it's
is
the
a new
hours of
concept.
operation
Yeah.
and security measures you needed a little more
Okay.
information on
That's
as
right.
well.
That's right. That was an issue, is it purely internal? Because, anytime you have a business open in the middle of the night,
Okay.
I think the concern is less that people are inside stealing meat than people are
Hanging out.
Are hanging out.
Something's
Yeah.
Or
happening.
money in the machines?
What's that?
Or money in the machines?
Well, I'm assuming
Credit
everything's credit
cards.
cards. Yeah. But, yeah, so those are really the issues I think that we're focused on. I'm not saying that the other issues are not going to be reopened at any point, but I see it as unlikely that we're going to really have any serious concern over anything but the hours of operation and security,
Okay.
which are really part and parcel of the same concern.
Right.
I
Okay.
think that's, at least from my vantage point, it's
Okay.
the safety and, there is something about the nature of, even the bar is shut down at a certain hour. So, all right, so with that said, I make a motion to adjourn application 18-03. Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and since we've already handled the approval of the minutes,
Or lack thereof.
or lack thereof, I move to close the Town of Eastchester Planning Board meeting of September 27, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.